Shout out to Kop-Ish.
Shout out to Kopish, guys.
Keep all the good work
the
up.
two legends, Emil Heskey, Howard Gill. Can't get much better than that guy. Yeah. You know what to do now. Like, comment, subscribe. I'm with legends, guys.
Kop-Ish.
Good evening, good morning, or good afternoon, depending on where you're watching in the world. Welcome back to another episode of Kop-Ish. And as always, when we get behind the mic, please make sure you subscribe, comment, and like. My name is Callum. You recognise Drift. But we have a special guest tonight. Join us from Redmen TV. We have Dan in the building. Dan, how are you doing, bro?
Yes, my mate, I'm all good, thanks. Massively appreciate you having me on. Looking forward to it.
Absolute pleasure. Thanks for joining us, man. Drift, how are you doing?
Personally, I'm okay. On the Liverpool front, we'll get into it, bro.
Hold on. I'm just going through the comments. Did Kone come off with an injury?
Yeah.
Oh my god.
Yeah. Knee injury. I've been watching the game. Knee injury. Yeah.
Was it a bad? Did it look bad or?
Hard to tell. He carried on for like 2 minutes after he went down, but like literally could hardly walk, and then he was gone. On the other hand, though, Kefren Turam, incredible.
Wow. All right. So Dan, basically, I'll give you a short story here. Anytime I want Liverpool to sign a particular player, they end up having a really bad injury or just completely going through a madness. So Pedro Neto, we all know his injury issues. Kone just now. I wanted Basuma, obviously not going to speak in detail about what went on with him, but we know the story behind that. Who else has there been, Drift?
There's a few. They're just not coming to mind right now, but there has been a few that you've.
Yeah, I'm just gonna.
The Callum curse strikes again.
They've nicknamed it the Callum curse. Then I don't even know what to say. So he's wow, Kone.
Yeah.
You know what? I'm just gonna stop speaking about transfers.
The worst part of your curse is Arsenal getting Rice. That's the worst part.
Oh, that's a point. Yeah, or they go to one of our rivals. So I wanted Rice. He's gone. Usman Dembele, a player I wanted. He can't stay fit. Sancho.
Oh man, yeah, you've got a bad record that now.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. Don't say anything about Turam or Solskjaer, whatever you do. Jesus.
Oh, we've already told him there's a lot of players that he can't talk about.
Yeah,
there's
on the banned list. On the banned list, a lot of names.
Goodness me. Well, let's not hang about, Dan. Transfers at the moment.
Oh, Shirky, Cal. He done his knee.
Oh, yeah, well. Ryan Shirky. Ryan Shirky's another one.
Haaland's gone to City. Yeah, your record's terrible, Cal.
At the moment, we've signed Alexis McAllister, World Cup winner, very good centre midfielder. I don't think anyone in the fan base is unhappy with that signing. I think everyone should actually be happy with that signing. However, we're looking at other clubs around us. Arsenal, Havertz, and it looks like Declan Rice is about to arrive there soon. Chelsea looking like they're getting Caicedo. Man United actually seem pretty quiet, to be honest. I don't think many people are drawing too much attention there. Man United seem quiet. Tottenham officially have secured Kulusevski. James Maddison, it looks like, is going there as well. We spoke briefly before. Say again, sorry.
They've got the keeper, Van der Ven, now they're in talks with him.
Yeah, they're in talks with Van der Ven.
Tottenham
supposed target of ours. Dan, how are you seeing the transfer window so far from a Liverpool perspective?
It's an interesting one. We should mention as well from Arsenal, Jurriën Timber looks like he's about to head there as well. So another one of our targets. It's an interesting one for Liverpool so far because we mentioned off air, Cal, about like it started off so amazingly. And as you say, nobody was unhappy with the Alexis McAllister signing. Quite the opposite. Like the mood amongst the fan base was buoyant. You could do no wrong, essentially, as a Liverpool fan at that time. It was just boss. I think I spoke about this earlier on today. I think we overlook the price tag for McAllister and just how boss a price tag it was. So I think now you hear people talking about we're not going to get a marquee player. I think Alexis McAllister is a marquee signing. He just wasn't a marquee price tag. So we're kind of forgetting that a little bit. Like when we first got linked with him and it was like, oh, you're going to have to pay 70 million or whatever sort of fee it was. Nobody batted an eyelid. It was like, yeah, you'll pay 70 million for McAllister. Sound. All of a sudden you get him for 35. It's like, wow, that's amazing. But because it was so cheap, you do then look at the next one and go, right, the expectation is go and spend that money elsewhere. And we haven't done it yet. And there's a lot of different reasons as to why, I think. I think this European Championship that's going on now hasn't helped because, let's be honest, like all of our targets are playing in it pretty much. So that's definitely a factor. It's not an excuse because Newcastle signed Tonali and he's also playing it. So you can still get deals done, of course. But it's just frustrating because I'm desperate for signings. Like I'm absolutely desperate for us to make signings. We've got to fix the problems from last season. Alexis McAllister on his own doesn't even go any way to doing that whatsoever. Great start, but that's all it is. It's just a start. And we need 2 more midfielders. Got to bring another defender in. And I'd be tempted to get another attacker in if I'm going to be really greedy, to be honest with you, because we're going to lose Salah for a period of time again this season. Jota, Diaz, injuries, we've seen it. So there's loads more work still to be done. Now, what I will say is, on a positive angle of it all, is the names we're being linked to, particularly one today as well, are the right names. So at least we seem to be identifying the right profiles of players, like Mickey van der Ven might go to Tottenham, but he fits the bill. So at least we seem to be looking in the right areas. We're just not getting stuff over the line quickly enough.
Yeah, completely agree. I think we've echoed that as well, Drift. In regards to the marquee signing thing, I think it's such a difficult one because Drift, we'll agree on this one. Back in 2020, when we signed Thiago, we all saw that as a marquee signing, but he only cost £20 million. So I think marquee and expensive signings are 2 different things. Sometimes they can coexist. Looking at Declan Rice's fee, though, obviously 105 million, it seems like it's going to be. And I'm seeing a lot of people saying it's crazy money. And look, it is crazy money. But I want to draw you both back to 2018 when we spent 75 million on Virgil van Dijk. That then was seen as crazy money. Virgil van Dijk was coming from Southampton, if I'm not mistaken, had only played European football with Celtic at the top level, had only played Europa with Southampton. 75 million for a centre-back then was a world record fee. Hadn't had the profile, in my opinion, of a Declan Rice. Looking at 5 years later, when you think about the impact that Virgil van Dijk's had, do you actually think, and I'll start with you on this one, Drift, do you actually think that Declan Rice is that crazy for that price?
Nah, not in this market. The world is a mad place right now. If you think about the fact that Declan has been doing well for about 3 years now, I'll say, in terms of like people really believing he's the player that was hyped a bit at the beginning of his career, and he's obviously got better. And then you think that Enzo went for £10 million more than what Rice is going for after just one brilliant season. And don't get me wrong, he is a brilliant player, but one brilliant season and then he goes for that much. Rice has been doing well for 3 seasons. So I think Rice is more deserving of that price tag, even though it's still way over the top just based on how the market is too inflated. So no, I don't. It is crazy and it isn't crazy. Like it, for a 100 mil player to kind of become a bit of a standard thing is crazy. Like we're in a world now where it's almost like a standard. If you want a top player, you look at Bellingham, Enzo, and Rice. All 3 midfielders have gone for 100 plus within the space of 6 months. That's a bit mad considering a £100 million player is supposed to be like, you know, like an Mbappe or something like that. But now that's the crazy football world we live in. So I think he's overpriced, but I think in the market, it's what you got to pay for a player of his quality.
Fair points. Dan, what do you feel on the Rice deal to Arsenal?
I'm intrigued by it because the points made are absolutely valid ones, and the amount of £100 million, near £100 million footballers we're seeing in today's market is insane because, you know, you're right, years ago just wouldn't have existed. And in a way, the Neymar deal has kind of led the way for all this, hasn't it? Like, they set that so high. And essentially what PSG and Manchester City, to an extent, have tried to do is kill the market so nobody else can afford footballs apart from them two. But I think with the Rice one especially, I think he is a £100 million footballer, again, in today's market, given what he offers, just how young he is still, etc., etc. Wonderful talent, does the lot, runs games of football pretty much single-handedly. I think he's amazing, I really do. And add into that the fact he's English, which always adds a little bit of dough on top. He's captaincy material, in my opinion. Like, if Liverpool were to sign him, I see no reason whereby he wouldn't become Liverpool captain in the years to come. Obviously, you've got Trent and the like, but he feels like a very Jordan Henderson type leader to me. So I think he makes loads of sense. I think he's a brilliant football player. What I don't understand in all of this, and where West Ham have done incredibly well to get that money for him, is the contract situation. Like, he's got, I think he's in like the last year of his deal at West Ham. How are they getting 100 million in the final 12 months of his deal? I don't understand that. Like that seems mad.
They've got a year option then that nobody knew about. So he's actually technically got 2 years left.
So they can trigger that option.
Yeah, it's not Rice's decision, it's theirs. So effectively, he's got 2 years left on his deal. Yeah.
Right, well, that's slightly different then. But even then, I mean, final 24 months, maybe you can hold that a little bit more for him. But yeah, maybe. But I don't know. To me, it feels like he's a £100 million player with sort of 3, 4, 5 years left on his deal. Like, that's that kind of region. Getting towards the end, I think it's difficult. We're seeing the same with Harry Kane now, aren't we? At Tottenham, he is in the final 12 months of his deal, and Tottenham are going to demand 100+ million. And you just think someone will pay it because they want him that badly. But you do wonder, years ago, clubs would just wait, wouldn't they, and say, oh, we'll just wait 6 months, 12 months, and we'll take him for nothing. But now it's like, oh, no, we'll just pay £100 million. It's just getting thrown around now. And it's a bit insane. It doesn't help clubs like us who don't throw money around crazily. Like, it's not good for Liverpool, let's put it that way. But I don't know. I think overall, he's an incredible signing for Arsenal. It really is. You talk about the impact Virgil van Dijk had with us. I don't think it'll quite be as significant, but it won't be a million miles away.
Yeah, I agree. Look, I've made no secret about it. Rice is a player I really wanted at Liverpool, and I do think he's a needle mover for Arsenal. Maybe doesn't have that name value, but let's be real. Neither did Virgil van Dijk when we signed him. Virgil van Dijk wasn't seen by the masses as being world class or being able to take us at next level. I think Declan is potentially going to do that for Arsenal. You mentioned before, Dan, about who you think would, or who you'd like us to sign in terms of position wise. Do you have any sort of players that you think of that you think, yeah, these are the ones I want for these positions? And also the Trent situation, inverted right back or centre midfield? Where do you lie with that one?
I'll answer the last one first, because that's an easy one for me. He's inverted right back. I know this conversation comes up all the time, like when I'm on live shows and stuff, constantly. And I get it, because he's an incredible footballer. What he can do with a ball at his feet is beyond a joke. I don't need to sit here and talk about that. Like, we're all well aware of just how generational talent he is. But I don't know. I just think we're going to get the best out of him and the best out of our system with him continuing to go from right back into midfield. And I know everyone will sort of make reference to those England games recently and just how incredible he was, and he ran the show. Malta in North Macedonia. Yeah, I'm not so certain myself. But what I have been surprised, I must admit, by how well Trent has adapted to that role, because before we seen him do it, and this was a conversation then, everyone was like, he clearly has the skill set to play in midfield. I was worried whether he'd have the speed of thought, because at right back, it can be, I don't want to say easy, but it can be quite straightforward when the entire game's ahead of you. You haven't generally got players up the back here making you make quick decisions, whereas in midfield, there's a lot of that. But Trent has adapted to that really well, and I have been very impressed. But for me, in terms of us as a formation and as a system, I think we work best, and we've seen at the back end of the season with that Trent going in there. So I'd like to see us move forward with that. And as for names, I really like Gabby Vega at Celta Vigo. For that right-hand sided attacking eight, I think he's a very, very talented footballer. And for the price, 35 million, feels like a bit of a no-brainer to me. Did like Mickey van der Ven at Wolfsburg, but he does look very Tottenham-bound. So probably move on to Inacio at Sporting Lisbon for that role instead, personally. And the one I want above all else is Kefren Turam. He's the one. I just see him as, he's so physically dominant, and we've seen our problems last season. Like, our problems last season, yes, they were technical. We lack quality, we lack creativity, we lack so much stuff. But again, above anything else, we lack somebody to bully the opposition. We were bullied time and time again. I always make reference to the Brentford game away from home. They absolutely, it was men against boys, just men against boys, and we couldn't fix it. Someone like Thuram, I know he's still very young, but when you're 6'4" and you're built like a mountain, that helps a lot. And he's a great footballer to go with it, of course. So yeah, Kefren Turam would be top of my list. And then Gabby Vega or Scholesby from today, one of them two for the other role, and then I'm quite happy.
Drift. We spoke briefly on the phone earlier. Szoboszlai. I'm not going to speak about him because I don't want to hit him with the Callum curse, as you guys call it. What's your thoughts on this? Because Dan and I spoke briefly about this before we went live as well. Szoboszlai, his release clause potentially ends either the 30th or the 15th of July. One, do you think we're actively in for him? And two, if we can't activate his release clause, how much do you think a team would have to part with to actually acquire his services?
See, this is the thing that doesn't make sense to me, because me and Matt was talking. Big up, Matt. Obviously, like he's not filming at the moment, but he's cool. People, for everyone who's worried about Matt, he's cool. Me and Matt was talking today, and it's weird. So basically, from what he understands from the research he's been doing, and Matt did research when you heard about Szoboszlai. So I know what he's saying is credible. So apparently, we're waiting for the release clause to run out because we're negotiating to pay less than what the release clause is. We have a brilliant relationship with RB, which could help. Apparently, the situation with Carvalho is linked to Szoboszlai, even though it seems like a very easy thing to just put in writing. Like, apparently, it actually is a part of what we've been doing. And the negotiations are going well with that. The thing that I'm confused, though, and I said to Matt, and obviously he was on my wave of like, bro, I don't know. I'm just reporting like what I've read. Why are we waiting for his release clause to run out to put in a bid when a release clause doesn't mean you can't pay less? It just means if a team don't want to sell a player, that's the amount that they can't say no to. But effectively, if that runs out, they can ask for whatever they want. So it's almost like you can get him for less before the release clause runs out. If you wait, you might have to pay more. I'm confused a bit as to why we think waiting makes more sense. I don't really get what, do you know what I mean?
So again, I could be completely wrong on this, but the reason I think, so I'm purely speculating here. The reason I think we're waiting for the release clause potentially to elapse or the release clause cutoff point. Say, for example, his release clause, well, it's not, say, for example, his release clause is £60 million, right? If we were to pay them 65 million, which is more than the release clause, but we were to structure the payments, then Liverpool would probably see that as a better deal as opposed to just saying, here's 60 mil up front. Because with the release clause, you can't structure the payment. It's one payment. That's it. You get to speak to the player.
You can if they're willing, though, bro.
No,
like if the club are willing to, you can actually structure
But then you're not triggering a release clause. You're structuring a payment. A release clause is literally you have to pay the full whack. If you negotiate a deal, because that's the problem Chelsea had with Enzo at first. Then they just had to pay over the odds and then structure a deal. So I think we're probably just waiting for that to happen. And then we just go, look, here's the price we want to pay. How do we structure it to get the player potentially? I hope that's
what you're saying. I heard that was more about when the club just really don't want to sell the player. Apparently, if they're okay with the fact you've triggered the release clause, they can accept payment. Do you know what I mean? Like if they're like okay with it. And we got a good relationship with them. Should we not still lean on that a bit?
I hope we do. I hope we do.
I mean, even this structured thing of like I hope we don't mess up the deal just trying to structure it. Do you know what I mean? Like £50 million is a lot of money up front. I do get that. I'm not going to be naive. But we're Liverpool, man. Like, apparently, this Arsenal deal is an example, and we're using them a lot as a barometer. So to any Arsenal fans watching, we're not trying to do it because we're being shady. It's just seeming like you guys are moving. Take it as a compliment. Arsenal are moving correctly for once. Do you know what I mean? 2 years, apparently, they have to pay off this 105 million because West Ham are like, look, we need the money for our restructure. So apparently, Arsenal have given in to the 2 years. So it's basically 50 mil this summer and then 50 mil next summer, effectively, to get it done within 2 years. If Arsenal, with all due respect, if Arsenal can afford 50 mil up front right now in the summer, where by the end of this week, they'll have spent 210 million on Timber, Havertz and Rice, that is crazy to think because Liverpool have never spent 210 million in one window. So to think that they're about to do that within this week, but they can afford 50 mil up front, you would like to hope, just to make sure the players through the door, we could pay 50 mil up front for a player of Szoboszlai's quality. Surely to just get it done, just make sure it's there, no quarrels, no, they can say no, they can do this. A release clause means it happens. There's nothing the club can do about it. Boom. Like, why not just to not have all of that, maybe if, but someone else might get involved and all that kind of, I don't know, man. It's just part of the frustration of, like, why don't we just do what it takes to get it done rather than penny pinching all the time? Do you know what I mean? Like, it's just a wind up, man. It just gets on my nerves.
What's your thoughts on that, Dan, in terms of, because you said you prefer Gabby Vega, but also he has a release clause as well, obviously much lower. But because Man City have pulled out of the Rice deal, they're now apparently in the race. Chelsea have been in the race from the beginning. Are the release clauses, is it worth us doing it? Is it not? What do you reckon?
It's definitely going to be one or the other when it comes to those two, isn't it? They're very similar stylistically. We're not going to go and sign both of them. And it did strike me earlier when the Szoboszlai stuff came out that Man City yesterday were linked to Gabby Vega, and you do wonder how Liverpool have kind of gone, well, that could be that then, you know. But his release clause, I think, is 35 million, 40 million euros. Obviously, that's a lot cheaper. It would make a lot of sense. That's essentially what we saved on Alexis McAllister, in my opinion. So that would be a really smart deal. But player I do really like. But for the RB Leipzig point, it's an interesting one. And Drifty makes it well in terms of we do have a good relationship with them. We've done a fair amount of business with them down the years. The RB group, generally speaking, we have a good relationship with, actually. So there is definitely something to that. And it's worth mentioning as well that Leipzig have already started replacing him in many senses. They've got Danny Olmo staying on. They signed Christoph Bartmenger from Hoffenheim as well, attacking midfielder. Fabio Carvalho is about to walk through the door there, though. So they are already planning for life after him. So it feels to me like there could be definitely a move on the cards for him. And I also hope Liverpool get it done, and I'd love to see nothing more than just go, there you go, there's the release clause in full, no messing around, get it done, get him through the door, no qualms. But I have my reservations about us doing that because we don't do that often enough, quite frankly. But yeah, as for him or Vega, I'd be made up with both of them, to be honest with you. I would. I worry about Manchester City's involvement in that deal because when City come to the table, especially for a Spaniard with Pep Guardiola involved, you do wonder whether you're actually going to miss out on him. So I just want, for me, the individuals aren't as important as filling the holes that we have. I want the right players, of course, to do, and you want them to be world-class, if not world-class ready. But we just need to fill every single possible vacant hole we have in this squad. And the attacking midfield 8 from the right-hand side is absolutely one of them. Then probably a bit of cover for Fabinho, which I think Kefren Turam offers. Add your centre-back, and then you're getting somewhere.
Completely agree. Before we move off transfers, again, I'm going to get slaughtered in the comments for this, but I'm going to mention one word which is going to make Drifty smirk. Homegrown. So Paul Joyce retweeted a tweet from someone today highlighting the homegrown situation.
Michael Reed.
Yes, Michael
I
Reed.
spoke to him today.
Even better. Even better. You're prepped for this. Reece Williams is gone to Aberdeen on season-long loan. It looks as though Nat Phillips is going to be going.
I big up Reece, man. He's got.
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't even know that. Big up Reece. Go do your thing, bro.
Leighton Clarkson's up there as well, and he's going to join.
Yeah, Leighton Clarkson signed on a permanent.
Yeah.
Oh, did he go permanent? Yeah.
Yeah.
Clarkson's a little baller.
Yeah, Clarkson is,
Yeah, he's a little baller still. I like Clarkson, man.
What's your thoughts on the homegrown situation? Because I'll be honest, I keep on speaking about it, and I feel everyone just thinks I'm a laughing stock at this point.
No, we know you're telling facts, bro. We know you're telling facts. We don't ignore it. It's just annoying that we have to keep going on about it all the time, you know?
So just to put into context, at the moment, we've got 8 homegrown players. We've got Kelleher, who, again, still seems a bit if and but about what's going on with him. Joe Gomez seems to be staying. Trent, Hendo, Curtis, Reece Williams, who's just gone on loan, Nat Phillips, who's been linked with a move to Leeds, and Sepp Vandenberg, who we don't know what's going on. We're not linked, as far as I can see, to any English or any homegrown players. Am I missing something here, guys? Like, what's going on? Like, Dan, am I overreacting here? Or...
Lavia
Is who,
doesn't.
sorry?
Lavia doesn't
Lavia.
count as homegrown yet.
Does he not
no.
count? Even though he was from the Man City academy, does he not
Not
count
yet,
as
though.
homegrown? No.
He will do. I think it's in 2 years' time. Lavia will then qualify as homegrown. But what Lavia is under 22, so you don't need to
Yeah.
register him.
Yeah, you don't need to.
And that's the
register him,
case with a couple of the players we are linked with. And to cut a long story short, what I spoke to Michael about was because part of the reason we are going after so many real youngsters, as well as the age profile fitting, is because you don't have to worry about the homegrown status with some of them. Now, there's a couple like Turan. You probably will have to register him by the time he signs, so that doesn't exactly help. But we do have 2 non-homegrown slots left in the squad right now. But on the point, Carl, and you are right, it is something to consider, but I don't think it's something to worry about. All we'll have to do, and Michael Reed made the point to me today, actually, and he's the person, obviously, who came up with the tweet and got everyone talking on Twitter about it. Grizz, how we doing, man?
I don't know if that is Grizz. I've just messaged him. I don't actually know if that is Grizz. That would be crazy considering we spoke about it before we went live.
That'd be weird if not. Anyway, basically what he said is Klopp, Schmadtke, et al. Will have a plan and an idea of the makeup of the squad when it comes to your homegrown and your non-homegrown. And what a lot of people were kind of enraged about with all this was the Adrian deal. And the point was made to me that not a lot of teams, because loads of teams have the third choice keeper being English, Scott Carson, we had Andy Lonergan, for instance, etc., but not a lot of teams have their backup keeper as homegrown, and we have with Kelleher. So we've kind of got it already covered in that sense. But I think it is something to bear in mind, but I also believe that's the reason we'll make a couple of signings. And Levi Colwell's one that we were tentatively linked with in terms of homegrown. Don't know if that deal is going to happen, but I think we'll just sign really young. And what it does do is it makes the likes of Lavia make even more sense than he did anyway, because he ticks 2 boxes. You don't need to register him now, and all of a sudden in 18 months' time, he's homegrown. So that deal appears to make even more sense than it did anyway.
Do you think Lavia is good enough, though, as a footballer, to come to Liverpool and take us to a level above where we are?
Not as a first choice option right now, no.
So then I asked, does it make sense doing it though? Because in the future he'll be a brilliant player. The problem is I don't know if we've got that time at the moment because of the position we're in.
No, it's a very fair and very valid point, quite frankly. And I don't think he does make us any better right now. He comes in as probably an understudy to Firmino, and on top of that, what he's kind of doing is he's kind of blocking the pathway for someone like Bajcetic, which nobody wants to see because he's a wonderful talent. Like, whether he comes back from his injury, hit the ground running again, remains to be seen. Of course it does. But I think I would like Lavia at the club, just in terms of the squad. I think he'd make a lot of sense from that point of view. He wouldn't be a starter for me. It would still be the likes of Thuram would be ahead of him in terms of the pecking order if he was to sign as well. But like I say, I just think we'll have to be smart with the homegrown stuff. And another thing you can do, and the point was made to me today again, you don't actually need to register all 25. Like, if you're lacking in homegrown numbers, which Liverpool have been for the past couple of seasons, you just go with a 23-man squad. And Man City last year acted a 21-man squad. Now, obviously, all 21 of them were essentially world-class international footballers, so it's slightly different. But if we are in a position come August whereby we haven't quite got the balance right, not an ideal world, but you can always just drop a number somewhere.
Very true. Very true. Guys, if you haven't already, do smash the like button. Make sure you also follow Dan on Twitter. I'm going to move on to something that's not really been discussed, but I want to just touch on it before pre-season, because this is a time where we start to see some of the youth and academy players get a bit of a chance. Last season, it was Bajcetic. I personally hadn't heard much about Bajcetic before he played in the pre-season last season, and then ended up being one of our better midfielders during the season. When you look at some of the gaps in the team, you look at someone like Isaac Mabeo, who played last season and looked really good going forward. You look at someone like Kai Gordon, who played this season before, but last season was ravaged with injuries. Ben Doak, who looked really fiery when he came on in stages last season. Do you think we're maybe overlooking some players like your Conor Bradleys, maybe someone like a Ben Doak who could fill in that forward position that we all seem to want as well? Balagizi, shout out to Clay. Balagizi's coming back from loan. do you think, or are there any standout youth or academy players that you think could potentially plug some of these gaps for next season? Drift, I'll start with you on this one.
Bro. Bro,
Got
come
ya.
on, man. Yeah, bro, these kids, man. Look, I think we got some brilliant kids. Like I'll just say Clarkson. Like I really have enjoyed watching him. Like I think he's wicked.
Tyler Morton, I rate Tyler Morton.
Remember, I used to say this about Kent. I thought Kent was a brilliant player. Like I thought Wilson was a brilliant player. Like we've had a lot of young players that are very, very good. The problem is you can't be very good and play for Liverpool. You have to be exceptional and play for Liverpool. You have to be Trent Alexander level to actually keep your place in the first team.
Oh, we're not talking about being a Trent level. We're talking about someone who could potentially plug gaps throughout the season and be a big part of it.
You still need to be like a Besetic level then to be able to plug a gap, which is still an extremely high level. Like, let's be honest, from what we've seen of him, that kid's got the world at his feet if he can get over this injury. Like, he is a brilliant player. So you've kind of got to be that level. Now, I think Bradley, and you know what's crazy, Cal? We watched Bradley the season before last, and he never let us down once. Every time he played, he was actually brilliant. And I remember thinking to myself, "Are we got a little Trent 2.0 here?" But then we went and bought Ramsey, and it was like, okay, then he went on loan, and it was like, you know, it is what it is. He's bloody gone and got player of the season. Should we be turning our nose up at it? No, we shouldn't. We actually shouldn't. Like, but this is where, as fans, we just want the Hollywood, right? And we have to just accept that this is just how football goes. We can't be seeing Rice and Kovacic and Caicedo and all these ballers going all over the place, and then we're like, hey, we got a little kid in the youth team, hey, he's gonna come through. Like, it doesn't feel the same. But if we'd have said that 6 years ago, we would have no TAA. And that's what you also have to like think now. Do you know what I mean? If we'd have gone 2017, if we'd have said, nah, what's this, man? And we'd have put pressure and we'd have bought someone or whatever, we'd have never had one of the greatest players to break through. So I think, oh, sorry, my TV's on pause. So I just think that like, it's a real twist
you're not
now.
watching anything naughty in the background. Bro.
No, that's Sky Sports, innit? They're just talking about the Declan Rice bullshit.
When I was getting demonetized.
No, I'll pause it in a minute. I'll pause it. Is it picking up?
No, we can't hear anything.
About Declan. So basically, it's like I believe some of these kids could be good enough. Are we going to have the patience? Because remember, a lot of people have looked at me sideways when I've said, what if we just let Ben Doak be Mo Salah's backup? The kid looks good. Everyone goes, are you crazy, bro? Like, he's only 70. But if we buy someone, are we blocking the pathway to a kid who does look like a sensational kid? Like, for a 17-year-old, Ben Doak's as good as it gets. If I'm being completely honest with you, like, he looks brilliant. But we're like, it's too much pressure. Let's go buy a proper player. So I think we're always stuck in that rock and a hard place of like, do we let the kid come through? Or do we think as soon as he has a bad game, that's why we should have went and bought X, Y, Z? Because, you know, Pavard wouldn't have had that inexperience to make that mistake. Do you remember the Man City game? Dan, I don't even remember when Besetic played in that Man City game. And he was quite poor. And then straight away, everyone went, you see, he's not ready. That's the reason why. And it was like, and nobody even gave him a chance to like just have a bad game. He's an 18-year-old. He's playing against the best team in Europe. He just had a bad game. That's what I worry about with your Mortons, your Bradleys, your Dokes, those type of players. It's not even are they good enough. It's if they have one bad game and the game is important or something like that, all of a sudden the narrative will switch and you will just see like all this negative energy start building towards that player, etc., etc. So I don't know, Cal. The kids one is a tricky one, bro. Like it really is. Like Bradley might be that guy. And we've saved ourselves 50 million and we just, you know what I mean? And he's homegrown and we ain't got to worry about all of that. And we don't have to register him yet. And I don't know, bro. I don't know. It's a tough one.
Fair dues. Dan, I'll ask the same question to you. Are there any are there any players you're looking forward to seeing in the pre-season? Any of the youth players or academy players?
Yeah, it is a really tricky one, this. And I had a conversation with Matt Addison from Liverpool.com last week, who absolutely knows the academy and the youth lads like the back of his hand.
Yeah, they are brilliant. Shout out to Liverpool.com, by the way.
Yeah, boss, like, and Matt's superb. So I had a really good chat to him about most of the lads we're going to talk about, actually. And Ben Doak is the one. like Ben Doak is absolutely the one. Like, make no bones about it. He is some kid. He's some talent. Like, we've seen it in flashes last season. We all remember when he absolutely left Luca Dean for dead. Like, what a moment that was. Like, he's got some ability. And what he is as well as incredibly talented is he's fearless. So if you are going to throw him into some situations this season, which we could well be doing, he wouldn't shy away from it. Like, he got all the confidence in the world. So Ben Doak is definitely one to get excited about. I would actually like to see him go out on loan. Having said all that, he's just somebody you want to watch play football. And he's so young still. He's 17 and he's only recently 17. But he feels ready to me to be a part of a first team setup somewhere. Now, the problem is kind of coming back to Drifty's point. If you've got Mohamed Salah, best right wing in the world, and your backup is Ben Doak, 17-year-old kid, don't care how exciting the kid is, that is a big drop off. Yeah. So I'm not quite sure Ben Doak's ready to be the understudy for Salah. Having said all of that, Europa League this season, there's chances to see some more kids perhaps in the group stages. Certainly if we get it wrapped up nice and early. You can't necessarily do that in the Champions League because every game is so fiercely competitive. So we might see some more of them. I think that's a good thing for Kelleher as well, while I'm on the point. I think seeing him in them games would be really pivotal to him staying.
Yeah.
In terms of other names, Bobby Clark. I think Bobby Clark's a really bright prospect. Yeah. Another one, possibly going to have some minutes this season, could also go on loan. I'm not certain about Tyler Morton, personally. I think we're getting towards the do or die stage of Tyler Morton's career as a Liverpool player, whereby he's got to kind of get involved and play some minutes, or we might have to cash in on him. I think we're really close to that with him. One I am really excited about, who doesn't get talked about a lot, is Javel Quansah, who spent the season on loan at Bristol Rovers. Yeah, really, really exciting. Physically, for a centre-back, got everything. Quick, powerful, tall, boss in the air. He's one to talk about. He had a good loan spell last season. I do wonder whether he'll go back on loan. But if Rhys Williams and Nat Phillips both leave, obviously Rhys Williams already gone, Nat Phillips could go. There's a chance Quansah sticks around and he's just that fifth choice centre-back and it comes in for League Cup or whatever. That'd be something. Maybe sort of replaces Billy Cometio in that sense. And the final one is Conor Bradley, actually. Like Drifty says, absolutely cleaned up at the Bolton Awards last year, like young player, player of the season, fans player, etc. Just had a field day. Yeah. And I think we're definitely going to get a look at him in pre-season, and I'd be excited to see what he can bring. Again, you do wonder whether he's ready to be the lad waiting for Trent. We've still got Joe Gomez sticking around, of course, so he could be your right-back option. James Milner's left. He's not that anymore. So it's a lot of responsibility for someone like Conor Bradley. Stepping into Trent's shoes is no mean feat, like much as it is with Ben Doak and Salah. So I'd be cautious with all these lads. And again, you can't be too negative if they do have a bad game because they are still learning, they are still so young. And it's so rare that you get someone like Bajcetic, for instance, and even Trent to an extent, who can come into this level of football and just flourish. That doesn't happen very often.
Yeah.
And you've got to be really wary of it. But having said all that, I think there's some really exciting kids out there. And if you were to ask me who the most exciting one is and who I think will sort of succeed as a Liverpool player, it will be Ben Doak.
I'm still holding out hope for Musliowski because a year or two ago, he was seen as the next guy and we haven't seen anything. Another player is Kai Gordon. I think everyone's forgotten how much he had a really bad hip injury, really bad hip injury. So I'm hoping he's over that, and if he is, I think we'll see quite a bit of him in pre-season. Klopp is a fan of Kai Gordon. Yeah. We saw him play quite a few games in the season. We were chasing the quad.
He scored against Cardiff, didn't he, in the FA Cup?
He should have scored against Arsenal as well.
Yeah, he should have. Musliowski was linked back to Poland last week.
Yeah, it's a weird one with him at the moment. It's a weird one.
Don't know what's going on with him.
Polish Messi, he was hyped.
Yeah. I mean, even the goal he scored this season for the under-23s, where he's dribbled past like 3 players and he's got so much talent. Something isn't right there. I don't know what it is, but something's not right behind the scenes. But we'll see. But we are going to move on.
Dope, just quickly, Cal, before you move on. I truly believe he would destroy this Europa League. I know he's only 17, but if you look at that kid's confidence, Dan is right. Yeah. I have never seen a 17-year-old with so fearless. Honestly, like
whoa, Mike Lowe and Wayne Rooney. Let's like we have. Yeah.
All right. Well, he's kind of he's obviously maybe not as good as those players, but like his confidence, like he's kind of on their level. Like he just comes on the pitch and he doesn't care who you are, what team like he doesn't care, bro. He's just like, give me the ball and I'm gonna do what I'm good at. And that is making a fullback look stupid, just getting past him with skill, pace, whatever it may be. He looks to me like if we unleash him on the Europa League, like it could be the unbirthing of a brilliant young talent. Like I've got a lot of faith in Doak. Like I really do. Like he's one of the players I look at and I think there's something about you, attitude-wise, why it's not just about your ability. I see something in your attitude that you just don't care, and you're gonna do whatever it takes to get where you need to go. I think we should keep him and unleash him on the Europa League and the League Cup. I really do. I think he could possibly. I know he's only 17, but if we're not going to buy anyone, let's just play Doak and let's just see if the kid's got what we actually believe he does. That's my take on him anyway.
I'll be honest, I am literally sitting on the fence between both of your opinions with regards to Ben Doak because he's 7. I still think what's going to happen with Kai Gordon, what's going to happen with some of the other players who are slightly older than him. If Kai Gordon's not going to kick on, then yeah, we keep Ben Doak around. If Klopp prefers Kai Gordon, and I think Doak should go out on loan and get some professional minutes, I think it could be good. But it's going to be a tough one.
With that.
It's going to be a tough one. Right. Going to move on to a player who's no longer a youth player, no longer a Liverpool player. My favourite player at the club before he left, this man, Bobby Firmino. Looks as though he's going to be going to Saudi. I don't think anyone is going to begrudge him a move to Saudi. If anyone's run their socks off more than Bobby Firmino as an attacker in the Premier League in the last 6-7 years, I'd love to know who. Anyone who's been less selfless. You only have to look at what his peers say about him. Coutinho loves him and loved playing with him. Mane, Salah, Virgil, Hendo, all these players hold him in the highest of esteem. And him moving to Saudi, firstly, are you surprised none of the other European teams came in for him? I'll start with you, Dan. And how do you think he'll do in Saudi?
Yeah, I'm really surprised nobody else came in for him. I'll be honest, I was kind of expecting sort of an Inter Milan or one of the top Serie A clubs to come sniffing. And then there was even talk of Real Madrid before they signed Joselu, and they were linked to Viago Aspas as well, Real Madrid at the time. Yeah. That was something. I presume they weren't going to have him on corners, but yeah, I thought Real Madrid, Barcelona, somebody would come and get Bobby, to be honest. I did. And I could see him having a nice little swan song in Barca. That would make a lot of sense down Las Ramblas for him. But listen, the Saudi money's come calling. And as you say, you can't really begrudge him it because absolutely incredible servant, like incredible footballer at the Liverpool Football Club. And go and make your money while you can, I guess, and sort your family and your grandkids and your grandkids out forevermore. Like, why not? I can't blame him. But I am disappointed in a way, despite not begrudging him of it, because I wanted to watch him more, and I'm probably unlikely to watch loads of the Saudi League if I'm going to be dead honest. If you keep buying the best players in the world, I might have to. I might have no choice, but right now I won't be. So I'd have liked to have watched him at Barcelona in Serie A or whatever it may be, but he's off to Saudi. And on the point about him succeeding out there, yeah, I mean, we shouldn't underestimate how boss he was when he left, because although he had his injury problems, like at some point this season just gone, he was our best forward, like certainly the most prolific forward we had. He was scoring goals for fun a little bit earlier on. So, and he ends the season on a high with 2 goals as well. So if he's doing that in the Premier League, I think he'll go okay in Saudi. Yeah.
I've got to disagree with you, Dan. I look at this like an ex-girlfriend situation, but an ex-girlfriend you leave on amicable terms. I don't want to see her with another guy. I prefer to move abroad. Delete her off all my socials, because if I saw him playing for Barcelona, the love's still there. I'm still going to have to watch him. I wish he was still at Liverpool to an extent. If he's in Saudi and I can't watch, I know he's living a good life, but it wasn't meant to be anymore.
I'm Premier League cut off with that. As long as he's not in the Premier League, I can make peace. I can make peace with that.
I can't see him. I can't see him in another shirt. It'll break my heart. Drift, your thoughts on Bobby going to Saudi?
Oh, bruv, if anyone deserves back pay, it's Bobby Firmino. So you lot already know how I feel. Plus, I think people are forgetting he's got 4 daughters. Do you know how much security costs? Like, let him go and make that money. 4 daughters. That is a hell of a lot of security or bail money, whichever way you want to look at it. Let's keep it a buck. 4 daughters is a lot of protection.
Yeah,
That's a lot of protection needed. That's a lot of stress. That's a lot of so let the man go and earn that money so he can protect his family, man. But no, jokes aside, I'm just over. What is all this heartstring pulling Liverpool are doing? Like in the last couple of weeks, I can't take this, bro. You must be even worse. I can't do all of this.
Did you watch his goals? Did you watch all of his goals on LFC TV?
Bruv, of course I did, bruv. I don't like all of this stuff, bruv. All of this stuff is just pulling on the heartstrings, bruv. It's just an emotional roller coaster where you're like, hold on a minute. This guy really doesn't play for us anymore. And you've got to come to terms with the fact that, and what a lot of people forget is he wasn't the first piece of Klopp's puzzle because he was already here. But him and Lallana were the beginning of Klopp getting his system and what he wanted at Liverpool into. I mean, I will put Coutinho in there, but I know you don't like when I mention his name. But those were the people that do you get what I mean? They got this little beautiful train of pressing from the front going. Because a lot of people forget Lallana, Coutinho, and Bobby. There was no pace in there, but they used to trigger a lot of counter attacks with their beautiful pressing, their you know what I mean, their harrying and all of that. And they had the intelligence. They used to set traps. We were setting traps from way before we became the Liverpool we now know. It's just the rest of the team wasn't good enough. Bobby was part of that. Probably why he's so knackered, because he's been doing the Klopp system for 7 years. That's a long time. Do you know what I mean? So it's a proper end of an era with Bobby leaving. But who deserves to go and get that back pay more than Bobby, man? So all to him. You know what I mean? He left the right way. We got to give him a send-off. I'm really upset we didn't. I'm really upset we didn't get to give people like Sturridge and especially Mane this level of a send-off. Do you know what I mean? Because they were special players for us who deserved that, especially Mane. The way Mane left, I didn't like. Like, he needed the send-off that Bobby's getting because he was that type of player for Liverpool.
Yeah.
But
I don't think he could though, Drift, because he knew he was leaving, but he also knew he had so many things playing for. Again, it just shows how selfless Mane is as well.
Yeah, he is, because he could have said it and then it would have been about him. But I know he didn't want it to be about him, especially the parade. He didn't want that to be about him. So I get that. It's just a shame, innit, that he didn't get to have that send-off. And then the crazy thing is, not to go on a tangent, but how weird is it? We were all worried about Salah being the one who was going to leave 2 years ago. And we're here 2 years down the line and Mo's committed as ever. And it's Mane and Bobby who's gone. How crazy is that? But that's how life in football is just so weird, isn't it?
It is indeed. Well, Dan, that's a perfect segue, because you guys over at Redman TV, and shout out to the boys over there, you've done something a bit special for Bobby Firmino, haven't you? So feel free to tell the people about it so we can all support it.
Yeah, mate, appreciate that. Our Bobby Firmino doc, speaking about pulling on heartstrings, has reached 100k on YouTube today, actually. So a nice little milestone for it. It's I would say this because I've worked a lot on it and I'm in it and it's my company, etc., etc. But it's incredible, like genuinely is incredible. I would recommend anyone and everyone go and watch it. You spoke a minute ago, Carl, about sort of the people and what they say about him and his peers and how much they adore him. I got sort of full sense of that. I went over to Hoffenheim. Hoffenheim were amazing as well, by the way, as a football club. Like, let us into the game there, training ground, etc., etc. Spoke to Ozan Kabak, a couple of players that are there now, the captain that's there, and Cesar Thier, who was actually the player liaison manager when Bobby turned up, also a Brazilian. And he took Firmino under his wing and he got emotional speaking about Bobby. And you could just see how much he meant to these people as a person. And that goes on throughout the doc. There's just amazing stories, like Ian Air talking about how he went to Germany to sign him, asked Hoffenheim if he lived locally, and he did, but he was in Chile at the time, so he had to fly to Chile. There's just, the documentary is just full of incredible stories, incredible people talking about Bobby, just how much he meant to them. Henderson's in it, Lallana's in it, funnily enough, speaking about him, and he actually mentions in one of them about the City game when he was sort of doing the pressing, but he was just doing the running for Bobby and Coutinho. They were doing all the good stuff, and Lallana was just running around, basically. But yeah, as as a documentary goes, I literally can't recommend it enough. It is absolutely incredible from start to finish. Like I say, some of the people that are in it are phenomenal. And it's slightly different. Obviously, we've all seen Liverpool stuff. That's all the players he's played with. That's boss, don't get me wrong. Yeah. But ours has got a slightly different angle. It's more the story of him and how he became what he is and his friends, his family, etc., etc. So it's phenomenal. It really is. And also, I've got to say that if your listeners, viewers do want to check it out, it's obviously episode 1 on YouTube now, completely free, of course. But episode 2 is out also on Redmen Plus, and episode 3 is coming this Friday, as well as all the full interviews. We've spoken to Ernst Tanner as well, the guy who signed it for Hoffenheim originally, Lutz Pfannenstiel, the guy who scouted him originally. So it's all there. And if you want to watch that or listen to it, you can get Redmen Plus Club Captain membership for half price for 3 months if you use the code Kop-Ish when you sign up. It's normally £5 a month. It's now £2.50. So yeah, use code Kop-Ish Club Captain monthly.
Super.
And the link is in the description.
Yes, it is.
And it's in the chat as well now, guys, as well.
Appreciate it.
So make sure you go over there.
And like I say, I know I will say that because I literally essentially helped make it, but it is boss.
It's Bobby Firmino. Like we're on board. Like.
And I met him as well. I met him at his mural whilst we were making it. So that was a moment as well. Let me tell you, like he smelt incredible, and his wife was just lovely, like just so lovely. So yeah, there's another reason to go and watch it.
I'm not sure if he's still in the comments. Shout out to Kev from LFC Day Trippers. I think Kev may have met him when he was went to the mural as well.
Yeah.
And everyone who met him said just had lovely things to say about him. I've actually not heard of any Firmino stories like at all. I think the only sort of scandal he has was when he got done for drink driving. But when they found out the reason why he was drink driving is because he had been burgled or something previously and was fearing for his safety of his family. Like, you get it. He's just, the guy's quality, man.
Yeah, quality.
I love Bobby. I'll always love Bobby. But Dan, before we let you go, where can the people find you and support you, bro?
Yeah, mate. Yes, obviously your Twitter handle's on there. Always welcome to new followers on there. But generally speaking, I mean, I'm so busy with Redmen these days. I don't even use my own socials half the time, to be dead honest. It's absolute chaos at the minute. But yeah, Redmen TV, check us out. I do daily news shows sort of once or twice a week. I was on today, I was on earlier on. I cover all the transfer stuff, essentially, all the journal, all the experts, all that type of thing. So yeah, always come and get involved in Red. Yeah, it's great fun. Nobody ever mentions FSG, it's boss. Yeah, come and get involved. Come and give me a juice when I'm on live on YouTube. Yeah, it's always very welcome.
I felt so sorry for the other day, bro, because he was talking about the Barella stuff, and like we all know this isn't gonna happen. But it's like we've got to pretend that we know that we might get involved in this absolutely wonderful player. That how great would it be if Liverpool just wanted to sign a player this great? But yeah, I felt sorry for you because I know inside you're probably thinking, yeah, this isn't gonna happen. But everyone's like, how much do you think this can happen? Do you think we'll get this? Like, no, it's gonna cost 77 million. Like, I doubt it. But
and not only that, like I got a message from an Italian journal like after that, I think. And basically, she said, like, Barella loves Inter Milan. Like, he adores Inter Milan. He's got no interest in leaving a football club. Like, one day he might have to, of course. He probably gets that. But Inter Milan fan. And Italians don't like leaving Italy. Like, that's just a thing. They don't like leaving Italy. And Barella does not want to leave Inter. So I think we can scratch that one off for Liverpool.
Well, it's
the upsetting thing.
I got slaughtered yesterday for speaking about Mbappe. I started the video saying this isn't happening. In the comments, I still got slaughtered. Why are we speaking about Mbappe? I'm just doing my job, guys.
Yeah, you can't win.
This is the thing that's so annoying, though. Even though what Dan is saying is absolutely on the money. He's an Inter Milan guy. He's Italian. He adores the club. So does Tonali. But Newcastle did what it needed to be.
You're right.
And now they're getting him. Why can't Liverpool just go, look, we know you love him. Look, we'll sell you back in 3 years. Just come and be part of the end of Klopp's reign at Liverpool and win some stuff. And then you can go back and you'll only be, 26 at the time or whatever. Like, it's just because, Tonali's my guy, Cal. And I love Tonali. And I was told he's a Milan boy. Through and through, no point. Don't even think about it. He's rocking up the Tyneside.
He did get forced out though, to be fair.
He cried,
Milan
didn't he?
now.
I think he cried.
Yeah, he
Yeah,
did.
he
He's
did, and
devastated.
that is problematic. But
Yeah.
we can just tell Barella we'll sell him back in 3 years. Just come and have a project. You'll be back in Milan by the time he's 26, mate. No
They
problem.
don't like leaving Italy, mate. They don't like it. They don't like it.
That one's not happening, Drift. Sorry. Let me just kick out the super chats before we head off. Shout out to Johnny B. Red, who just become a member of ours. Big up yourself, Johnny. Shout out to Sean, who says, boys, get Dan says.
Why? Why would you do that?
I've been told it's pronounced Sobozalai.
Sobozalai. I spoke to a Hungarian fella like 4 hours ago, and he told me how to pronounce it, and I've already forgot. If we sign him,
so is it not meant to be pronounced Sobozalai then?
That sounds slightly different to how he said it. I'll be honest. That does sound slightly different to how he said it. It was more like an A at the end. It went the other way to an I. Sobozalai, like that. It was strange. But he was Hungarian, and he knew him. So I guess I have to take his word for it. But it is a nightmare to pronounce. And the problem was today, Sean, as well. I wasn't even supposed to be speaking about him. That David Ornstein tweet literally happened as I was on the show, and everyone was messaging me about it. It's like, oh, what's happened here? We had no prep time.
Yeah, we know about them ones.
Yeah,
I had to speak about it on the show live with that surname just full of Z's. And like,
you know what we do? We just call him Dominic. Let's just call him Dominic, guys. I don't think we have another Dominic in the club, do we? So everyone will know who we're talking about. Let's just call him Dominic, innit?
I agree. I'm happy with that.
But all I'm saying, anyone who is able to make a song out of his surname deserves a medal and deserves a season ticket in Liverpool, because that's going to be a tough one. Shout out to Rams, who says it's Sobozalai. Rams, you're gonna have to voice note me, Rams, because
yeah. Even with the breakdown, it's still
it's even worse with the breakdown.
It's like SZO. What is that? What do you know what I mean? Is that shoes spot? Like, what's going on?
That's an error. Sultan says, big up, lads. Cal, we need Drift versus Hossa. Yeah, we do. Please, how can Arsenal finish second once and spend 200 mil while we did all we did and can't spend 40 on Kone? I don't know. Time will tell. I'm praying that something happens this window. I really am. I just want to be wrong about everything I'm worried about. I really do. Sultan says Bobby will go to Al Ahil Ali. I think I butchered that, but I don't know how to pronounce. So someone in the comments help me. Which just got promoted. He deserved a better team, but it's a paycheck, to be fair. Maddison signed for Spurs. Would you have taken Maddison, guys?
No.
Without the injury record, 1000%. But in a Klopp system, I don't think he'd be able to take it.
I would have taken Maddison because I think he's one of the last good homegrown players you can get. And for
how old is he now? How old is he?
25 or 26, I think.
No, not for me. Not with McAllister already through the door. McAllister already signed. He's too similar. I'm happy with McAllister.
Yeah. Well, people, we are going to wrap up there. If you haven't already, please do smash the like button. Also, click on the link in the description to go and watch the Bobby Firmino doc presented by Redmen TV. Also, make sure you go and subscribe to Redmen TV if you haven't already. And also, go and support Dan doing some fantastic work. Dan, thank you so much for joining us this evening. Much appreciated.
Pleasure.
I think we only confirmed it today, so much appreciated for you taking the time out and doing this. Drift, anything you want to say to people before we take them out?
Just love as always. Make sure you support Redmen, support us, smash that like button, people. Big up to everyone. We had basically 900 live for the whole show. Appreciate you all as always. And hopefully we have to do a surprise show at some point, because Liverpool and the transfer committee pull their finger out their ass and they actually get something done, because we've been sitting on our hands for about 2 or 3 weeks now. We're back in pre-season training in 2 weeks. I thought Liverpool wanted to get Klopp all his signings so we could have a good pre-season.
Yeah.
What's going on? What's going on? Come on, man. We're getting impatient here. I've got to watch Arsenal spend 210 mil in 1 week. Come on, lads.
Painful.
Come on.
It's painful. But people, thank you so much for joining. Until we see you next time, stay safe, stay blessed with Kopish, and we're out, people. Take care.
Peace.